Hey friends, Ash here with Gents. Hope you're doing really well. Today it's time to review this one right here, Yves Saint Laurent Y Le Parfum. This fragrance is still not yet out in the US as of this video, but I imagine it will be very soon. I've been wearing this fragrance pretty often for the past 3 weeks. Now it's time for me to break this one down for you and let you know what I think about it. Also show you the presentation like always, and I'll let you know where it stacks up with the Eau de Parfum as well. And that might actually be a little bit surprising to you, how I think this one is versus this one, and also how my wife thinks this one is versus this one. So let's jump into it. Let's go ahead and start things off with the presentation like always, and then we'll get into the fragrance itself. First off, let's take a look at the box. You've got there the name of the house, name of the fragrance, sizing, concentration, all right there on the front. You have the YSL logo on top of the box. Nothing on the sides. On the back of the box, you have your ingredient information. And then there's the bottom of the box with your batch code. And that batch code is really hard to see. Looks like 38TN01C. Man, could they make that any more difficult? And here is a look at the bottle. It is all blacked out, as you can see. Got the Yves Saint Laurent name right there. Y on the side. Looks really good, but it is a huge fingerprint magnet. Got the YSL logo on top of the cap and your sticker with your badge code on the bottom. Much easier to read right here. 38TN01C. There's your badge code. Cap does click into place, and I'll go ahead and waste a couple sprays for you guys right here. There we go. Atomizer, same as all the others. Now I'm gonna go ahead and break this one down for you guys. And while I do talk about the Le Parfum, I'm also gonna bring up the Eau de Parfum every once in a while to let you know how they differ as they dry down. That way, if you're familiar with this one, you might have a little bit of a better idea of how this one is going to smell and whether or not it sounds appealing to you. So when you first spray these two on, the Eau de Parfum has a little bit more of that clean clothing feel to it, that shower gel kind of vibe that some people will talk about. The Eau de Parfum has more of that going on. And on the whole, the Eau de Parfum is a fresher version of the Y DNA than the Le Parfum is. The Le Parfum is a little bit darker, but it's not really a dark scent. It's just in comparison to the Eau de Parfum, it's darker. So yeah, the Eau de Parfum, a little bit shower jelly initially. Le Parfum has this airy aldehydic note. It's semi-sweet, and then you've got citrus, apple, and ginger in the Le Parfum. That gives it this little bit of a pop initially, this nice little fresh pop, but not as much as the Eau de Parfum. And I will say that even though both of these fragrances have apple and ginger in the opening, that the Eau de Parfum has more of a focus on the apple and ginger than the Le Parfum does. When you first spray Le Parfum on, it is a little bit redundant with the Eau de Parfum and with Y Live also. You can immediately tell that this is in the Y line. There's a lot of similarities between this one and the Eau de Parfum and Y Live when you first spray them on, but as it dries down, it does go its own way. In the first 10 to 15 minutes of Le Parfum's lifespan, I actually prefer the Eau de Parfum. I think the Eau de Parfum smells better in the opening. I think it's a little bit more appealing. I think it's more attention grabbing. I think it's got more zest, more pop. It overall is just better in the opening. Y Le Parfum has that aldehydic note that I mentioned that comes off a little bit fuzzy in that first 10 to 15 minutes and makes it smell a little bit rougher than Eau de Parfum does. The Eau de Parfum smells a little bit smoother, a little bit more rounded, just overall more appealing initially. As this one settles down, I start to pick up more sage and more lavender. Actually, a good amount of lavender in Le Parfum, and it smells really nice. That fuzziness is still there from the aldehydic note, but it starts to fade into the background. The lavender and the sage come up. It gives this nice semi-fresh aromatic feel to the fragrance. Still darker than the Eau de Parfum, but not really dark. But it starts to smell a lot better to me after that first 15 minutes or so. Now, don't think for 1 second though, that Y Le Parfum does not have any sweetness. Don't think that it's devoid of sweetness, because it's still got that sweet touch. Not as much as Y Eau de Parfum, but it still does have a good amount. So don't go into this with the completely blacked out bottle and think, oh, this one is gonna be way more mature, way more grown up, devoid of sweetness, uber masculine. Nah, there's still a good amount of sweetness here, just not as much as Y Eau de Parfum, not as much as Y Live either. If you wear Y Le Parfum and Y Eau de Parfum side by side, once you hit the mid, you'll notice that Y Eau de Parfum is a lot sweeter. This one has much more of a focus on that green apple, that amberwood, and that sweet sage as compared to Le Parfum. And as while Le Parfum dries down and enters the dry down, the tonka note here becomes really noticeable. And that is the prominent base note of this fragrance for me. And the way that tonka comes across is actually vaguely familiar to me as the way that it's used in Armani Code. And also, to an extent, the way that the notes combine in Y Le Parfum, there's a faint similarity to Versace Eros. Now, to be clear, Y Le Parfum is not close enough to Versace Eros or Armani Code, either one, in my opinion, to be able to say, oh, Le Parfum smells like Armani Code or smells like Versace Eros. It's not that similar. It's just the way that the tonka itself comes across as it enters the dry down reminds me how the tonka itself, just the tonka, comes across in Armani Code. And then in Le Parfum, you've got some other notes in there like geranium and like apple that can kind of at times mix with that tonka to give that like faint remembrance of Versace Eros. Again, if you spray these on side by side, Eros, Le Parfum, super different. It's just at times you might catch a whiff of it and be like, oh, that's a little familiar. And that's what happened with me a couple of times. You've also gotten the dry down cedar and olibanum. They combine and give you this kind of warm woodiness. It doesn't really smell exactly like cedar. I would just describe it as warm woodiness underneath the tonka. So it's not really specifically cedar the way that I pick it up. And the Eau de Parfum into the dry down continues much cleaner, much fresher than Le Parfum does. It's got a very modern, woodsy dry down with the amberwood and an almost zingy kind of sage over top of it. So overall, why Eau de Parfum? Fresher, sweeter, probably more appealing to younger guys, super versatile, very easy to use. Why Le Parfum? Also super versatile, really easy to use. This one though is warmer than the Eau de Parfum is. It's still sweet, but not quite as sweet. It's got a nice aromatic feel to it and is just ever so slightly darker than the Eau de Parfum is. But like I've said a few times, it's not really a dark fragrance. You don't have like a big leather blast in here. You don't have a bunch of smoke or anything like that. Now I know I said that Y Le Parfum has this kind of warm woodiness that doesn't really smell exactly like cedar in the dry down, but in the far dry down, we're talking hours and hours in, when you catch whiffs of Y Le Parfum, it actually has more cedar that comes out. It kind of gets to be on equal footing with the tonka, and then you kind of can perceive it as cedar instead of just arbitrary warm wood. And it also gets this kind of slight soapiness to it, which is really interesting because it's hours into the dry down. And you would think through the mid is where you would get that soapiness, but no, hours and hours in. It is something though that's in the background. You have to smell pretty close and then you can pick it up and you're like, well, what is that? Just a tiny little bit of soap somehow found its way into the dry down of Y Le Parfum. Boy, this makes no sense at all. And yet, it's there. Weird. Now let's get to the part where I tell you which one I like more, Y Eau de Parfum or Y Le Parfum. For a long time, I have heralded Y Eau de Parfum as one of the best blue fragrances out there as far as its versatility goes, its compliment factor, all that good stuff. And I still think that. Between these two fragrances though, the one that I like the most, this one. The more I wear this, the more I like it. And as I was wearing these side by side for comparisons, which I did multiple times, this one I very, very much preferred. Just as far as what I want to smell, Y Le Parfum, hands down. I like that it's a little bit more grown up. I like that it's not as cloying. I like that it still has sweetness, but not a whole ton. I like that little bit of darkness put in there. I like the more aromatic feel. I like the warmth. Y Le Parfum for me, all day, every day. Y Eau de Parfum, still fantastic, still super versatile, but I would rather smell this one. Now, my wife, which one does she prefer? I had her smell both of these multiple times, both out and about, in the garden, in the house, which is probably kind of weird for me to be coming up constantly going, hey, let's smell that. You imagine that? Just going about your day and somebody just comes up and ambushes you, smell my arm. Yeah, that's what I was doing. So, she was a good sport. I didn't tell her what was on each arm. Every time I did it, I switched it up, didn't tell her what was what. And I just said, hey, smell this one. Okay, cool. Let's smell this one. Which one do you like? Which one do you like more? I'm telling you guys, probably 10 times I did that. She chose every single time, without me telling her which one was which, every single time, the one that she chose as her favorite, White Eau de Parfum. And I feel like maybe I did it so many times because I was like, eventually she's gonna pick White Eau de Parfum, and I'm gonna be like, sweet, nice. No, she never did. So for her, White Eau de Parfum, hands down, destroyed White Eau de Parfum. I mean, she didn't pick this one single time, and I never went up to her and said, hey, this is Eau de Parfum, this is Le Parfum, tell me which one. Because if I did that, she could just keep going with the same one every time. I'm pretty sure she figured out before very long that I was just having her smell the exact same things on different days at different times in different places, but she went along with it. So we're split. We don't agree on this one. First 10 minutes, 15 minutes, I think White Eau de Parfum is better, but I mean, she smelled the opening and the dry down of both of these multiple times, and it was always Eau de Parfum. So I love the Le Parfum, she loves the Eau de Parfum. Let's quickly run through the performance and everything. For me, above average projection, so nothing to complain about there. Longevity, 7+ hours. One thing I'll say is that when wearing these side by side, the Eau de Parfum does appear to project more. It is more attention grabbing. It has that sometimes potentially cloying feel to it with the sweetness if you spray too much. And I think that really helps push the fragrance out and grab attention, whereas the Le Parfum appears to be sitting closer to your skin. It just kind of gets overshadowed a little bit by the Eau de Parfum. And it is the type of fragrance that potentially you could think, oh, it's not really pushing out as much as I would like. And then somebody smells it and makes a comment about it, and you're like, oh, okay, never mind, it's just me. I'm paranoid. I thought it was gone. Is it redundant? In the opening, yes. In the opening, it is redundant. It smells similar to White Live, similar to White Eau de Parfum, close enough anyway that you could be like, it's not really worth the pickup. As it dries down though, as it goes through the mid into the dry down, it does its own thing. And I don't think overall that it's redundant. If you're wanting just one Y fragrance, your best bet probably is still gonna be the Eau de Parfum if you just want one. But like I said, for me personally, my taste, this is the one that I would keep at this point if I could have just one. Season-wise, you've got that versatility, that blue fragrance versatility. But if I had to pinpoint it into seasons, I would say spring, fall, and then winter, summer. I would just adjust sprays up or down as needed. And as far as daytime or nighttime use, more of a nighttime fragrance than a daytime fragrance for me. But again, it's a Y fragrance. You can use it whenever. Nobody's gonna complain. This video ran way longer than I was expecting it to run, so I'm sorry about that. But I wanted to cover as much as I could about this fragrance. And yeah, this thing just is such a fingerprint magnet. It's horrid, man. You pick it up and it's just immediately looking horrible. You gotta just polish it. It's like having like an old Porsche or something. You just have to baby it. So here we go. Why Le Parfum? For me, I love it. My wife, she likes it, but she loves him. If you smelled this one, let me know what you think about it in the comments below. If you haven't smelled it, it should be out in the US pretty soon and other places as well. All right, guys, that's gonna do it for me. Thanks for hanging out with me today. Thanks for your support. Stay safe out there. I'll see you guys tomorrow with another fragrance video. See you guys later.